Hello everyone and welcome back to another TechRadar Show. You're here with me, Hugh Langley, and Patrick Goss. We're kicking off with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S, which has just launched in two flavours, 10.5 inch and 8.4 inch.
Are you thrilled?
I'm a little more interested than I expect it to be, because I do honestly feel like this is a tablet that could finally rival the iPad Air. I feel like, you know, when it comes to tablets, we have this thing of you either go really cheap or you go iPad. And I feel like Samsung might be starting to change that a little with this. And it does look quite nice from what I've seen. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do think that you either go for an iPad or you go for a cheaper Nexus 7 or something like that. I think that no one's really provided any kind of competition. I think it's a nice looking tablet. I don't for a second think it's going to compete with the iPad, if I'm honest. I think, you know, the Android market is very big and increasingly mature, and I think there's a lot of people will want to keep sort of unity over the two, their devices, all that kind of stuff. But I think tablets are such luxury items. You know, a phone, everyone wants a smartphone. It's almost a necessity. It's a very Western way of looking at things. But you know, they're increasingly important to everyone, and they are conduits to all that great stuff and apps and yada yada. Tablets still are very much a luxury item, and I think luxury is where Apple really kind of hold the fort, and I just can't see them selling a boatload of these tabs. I think they look great, and I hope they do, because I think an interesting, competitive environment is what we need for everybody. The honest truth, I think, is that outside of their home territories, I think they're going to struggle. I think
maybe, if anything, it's an indicator that Samsung's trying something. Maybe it isn't this one that's going to conquer the iPad. Maybe it's, you know, 2 iterations down the road. But shows
they've had a lot of iterations already.
They have, but this is the first one that's really hit me that I felt is actually quite seriously. I mean, it's obviously a lot of emphasis on the screen, that Super AMOLED screen. And I think the problem with me with tablets is I feel like they're only going so far. We're kind of hitting that point where it's like, how much more can we do with a tablet apart from just make the screen really nice? And the screen is fantastic on the new Samsung tablet, which is where it kind of, you know, beats away the competition.
I think that's kind of the biggest problem, actually, and I think phones are getting there as well. I mean, you know, whenever we do what we want to see in the next phone, it's always a bit bigger, bit faster, bit more powerful, you know.
But with phones, I feel like at least there's a little more to do there. With the tablets, it feels like you can't really go full power, like, you know, PC performance gaming, because the input methods are not there. So you've kind of already hit that barrier to a certain extent.
And you can't go down the let's make it a laptop kind of thing, because Microsoft have tried, and Surface has pretty much shown that it's just not really catching the attention
at the moment. And then you go the other end, you've got the kind of phablets, which are kind of like, and so it feels like the tablet's kind of stuck at this point where it's like, okay, we can just make everything on board a little better. I mean, one of the things on the Tab S that maybe is the fingerprint reader that Samsung's going on. Obviously, we're expecting Apple to put that into the iPad Air 2 as well. You know, iOS 8, they're going big on the fingerprint stuff.
That's not going to sell any tablets.
It's
you know, it's nice. I've got an iPhone. You know, it's nice. I get to my iPad occasionally, I forget, and I spend ages wondering why it's not unlocking. Partly because I'm an idiot, but you know, I accept that. But yeah, it's a nice to have. It's not a must have, and it's not going to. No one goes out going, you know what? I'm not buying this. It doesn't open because it's got a fingerprint. But I just don't. I just don't really kind of get that.
I see it's when they're kind of relying on those sorts of things to sell these tablets. Is the point where you think, okay, we've hit that point now.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we've been talking about the next generation after, you know, and I do think that tablets are something that ultimately are ripe for that kind of foldable screen thing when it becomes less of an issue, and then kind of it's a phone as well, presumably, you know, when you get down to that kind of. I mean, you're right. I mean, design-wise, it's going to be a piece of glass. The thinner you can get it, the lighter you can get it, the more powerful you can get it. All those things are kind of, well, they'll just keep iterating and iterating, but the software is obviously the most important thing and will remain the most important thing. But I think being able to actually fit it in your pocket or make it more portable, those kind of things. So when we see an awesome foldable screen, I think that's when tablets will get really
I think we will soon. I don't think we're far off. Samsung seems to be... I mean, I actually went behind the scenes at Samsung a couple of months back and saw their prototype foldable tablet, and it looked really good. And I was playing with it, and I was watching a film. I think it was that rubbish Final Fantasy movie, but it looked really nice on the screen. You know, you can see the 3D visual.
Can you see the joins?
The what?
For the folds.
Well, no, this is the interesting thing. So I was stressing it, and I was trying to, and I couldn't. I honestly couldn't. And as much as I tried, there was maybe a little problem. I'd say my only criticism was, you know, you get that glare from the lights in the room when you notice it more. But I mean, I kind of folded it up and I thought, you know, this is a cool idea. This is, you know, people can now put this in a bag easily, you know, or their pocket, whatever. Maybe this is the next step of tablets. Maybe this is where we have to go in terms of design. So I think it'll be interesting. And I think, you know, if Samsung's going to get in there first, you know, Samsung are a company that like to just throw a lot of things at the wall, see what sticks, as we've seen with the Gear watches. But I think this foldable tablet could actually be something that works. And Samsung would have been the one to get there first. I
mean, obviously, it's the World Cup. I know you're not especially fussed, but I'm
getting into it more and more.
I'm hugely interested. And actually, it's we're talking about tablets. It's been incredible for me. I've got an iPad Air. For once, I've been using it as a genuine watching device. I've watched it a bit. I've watched Netflix, Love Film, that kind of stuff, quite a bit, but never really as like I need to watch live TV and I need to do it in a way that's not going to upset my missus. Whereas this, you know, it's great. I'm sat there on the sofa. She's watching whatever. I'm watching the match. It's been really, really nice, and you know, I love that live feeling. And
definitely. So what about like second screening? So you're watching the game on there. I mean, you've got that going on, and then you've got your tablet on your lap. Do you find you're using that as well for any kind of apps or anything?
I'm quite focused on what I'm watching on. I will. I text a lot actually. Very old school, I know, but with the phones editor Gareth and I quite often trade match tips as we're going through. But I mean, I'm not a big tweeter during matches because I want to watch the game, and it's kind of one of my big bugbears with any of this stuff is if it interferes with me watching the game in any way, I don't want to know. So I'm okay with second screen. I get it. I can dip in. I mean, actually, I tend to dip out rather than dip in. And a lot of other people, I get that, and I completely understand why people want to tweet a lot more and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's pretty cool.
There are now more ways than ever to keep up with the action in the World Cup, wherever you are. Just pray it doesn't go to penalties. In the 4 years since the last World Cup, the number of people using smartphones, tablets and other wireless devices has exploded, and there's no better way to follow your team or watch matches live when out of the house. Here are 5 great World Cup 2014 companion apps. FIFA's official app covers pretty much all football and will of course be featuring all the World Cup action. Follow your country's progress with access to match schedules, exclusive destination guides and team profiles. You can also add your local and national teams to your favourites to quickly jump to related news and results. Another app that covers pretty much all aspects of football around the world, this one has its own dedicated World Cup tab where you can find all the latest news, scores and match stats. There's video content too with match highlights, reaction and analysis from Brazil. You can also set up personalised scores and live game details to show you the stuff you want to see. Truly one for the football obsessive, this app provides loads of match information and live results. You can view match schedules, lineups, bookings, stats, player profiles and set up favourites to customise the experience. With push notifications and city and stadium info, plus in-app purchases that let you add matches to your calendar, it's a football fan's dream come true. If you're a fan of stats, you'll find much to love with this Android app. With a schedule of all the matches in the event and full data customization, you can track just your chosen teams, groups, matches and conferences. You can even browse in offline mode for when you don't have a connection and, in a nice touch, access historical results for comparison and see news about future World Cups. Sometimes you just want to cut straight to the chase and not worry about loads of peripheral info. This app simply shows you the results in an easy to read table. Get information about match results of qualified teams, tables, groups, draws, schedules and stadiums where the games will be played. It even auto-updates with the latest results.
So obviously one of the big announcements this week is the Amazon phone, although we don't technically know if it's a phone we're getting it because obviously we're filming this before we
Pretty
actually
sure
get
it's going to
there,
be a
but
phone.
with the miracles of technology and probably minus a Hue, we can have a quick look at what our early reactions are. So my first impressions of the Amazon phone are, I'll be honest, I'm not super impressed. The price was higher than I expected, and I think a lot of the 3D stuff, which I always felt would be a bit of a gimmick, feels like a bit of a gimmick.
I agree, I'm surprised at the price. I didn't think they were actually going to do a premium phone, because what they did with the Kindle was they made it cheap enough so they get as many people as possible to buy it, and then people will buy books on it. The Kindle Fire, exactly the same thing. They want people to watch movies on it and read on it, and that's why they made it cheap. This is a premium phone.
I love that one of the big features that was discussed was that you could focus on any cover of any book and it would take you to the part of Amazon where you could buy that book. It's like, yeah, thanks Amazon, that's wonderful.
Well, that's I think it's quite a cynical move by Amazon. They are basically making the world around you into a shop front. So you can go into any store and you can look at a barcode on a CD and go, it's cheaper on Amazon, I may as well buy it on Amazon. It's got Shazam-like capabilities with the Firefly functionality, so that essentially means if you're listening to music, you can press the Firefly button, that music will pop up on the Amazon store. So it is basically just a shop front for Amazon.
And I think you could accept that more if the price point was particularly low. If it was heavily subsidised, so you kind of knew that. You were buying into the Amazon thing, you knew it was going to be a big cynical marketing ploy, but you kind of accept that because it's really cheap. But this doesn't feel really cheap, and the specs don't necessarily, I think, mean it competes with those high-end phones.
It doesn't feel cheap, but it feels slightly gimmicky, and that's the issue with it. With the amount of cameras that are on there to do the 3D-like capabilities, I don't think people want that. LG did it before then. We had the 3DS, which wasn't that successful. 3D is not something that people need on a handheld device.
Do you think it's going to be like the 3DS, where everyone starts and is like, yeah, this is really cool, and within about half an hour they're like, turn that off, let's get back to proper gaming?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what Jeff Bezos does is kind of what Tim Cook does with Apple, where all these gimmicks and all these ideas have actually been around for a while. Barcode scanners are on the App Store. 3D's been around for a while, but he's pushed it in a new way, so it's like this new magical phone will offer the capabilities that nobody else can do. To be honest, you can make the Amazon Fire phone out of all the apps on the Google Play Store, and you can actually get the Google Play Store on the Amazon phone because it's a closed system, which I think, again, is slightly wrong.
So that's the end of another TechRadar show. It's been a really interesting one, I think.
It's been good, actually. I've enjoyed it. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you again soon.
What the was that?